100 years ago, grotesque monsters known as demons suddenly appeared across the world, forcing humanity to shrink down to just 7 countries on the Arzishiel continent. The surviving humans built the Wall of Babel and established barriers to hold off the demons, placing all their hopes in magicians, the only ones capable of fighting back. Magicians are ranked strictly by strength. Those with single-digit ranks, 1 to 9, are universally respected and called singles. Out of over 10,000 magicians, the single strongest magician ruling at rank number 1 is Alice Regen. Deep in the demon-infested outside world, Alice counts down a pack of 12 wolf-like fiends rushing toward him. Using chain formula 207, chaining Rezanote, he obliterates all 12 beasts in a single, effortless flash. After the fight, Alice pours water over himself to cool off. He reflects on his endless cycle of non-stop battles, admitting that even though the wilderness is full of demons, he prefers its peace over military life. Looking up at birds in the sky, he silently yearns to know what real freedom feels like. Weeks later, at the Army headquarters of the nation of Alpha, Alice meets with the Governor General. When asked to reconsider his decision, Alice firmly declines. The Governor General argues that Alice is far too valuable a combat asset to humanity to be allowed to leave. Alice stands on official regulations. Anyone who has served in the Army for 10 years and achieves sufficient battle feats is legally permitted to retire. Having been forced into active service since he was just 6 years old, the now 16-year-old Alice makes it clear that he has worked more than enough for the country and just wants to live a normal, quiet life. The Governor General acknowledges to himself that without Alice, the single magician rank number 1, Alpha would lose all hope of retaking lost territory and might not even be able to defend itself. Unable to simply let Alus walk away, the Governor General proposes a compromise, a long-term leave instead of total retirement. He offers to grant any wish within his power, accommodate Alus's magic research, and provide him with a place that will prove greatly useful to him moving forward. In exchange, Alice must agree to return and comply whenever the Governor General officially summons him. Knowing he wouldn't be allowed to quit so easily, Alice accepts the deal. He is told to stand by in his personal quarters while preparations are made. After Alice leaves, the Governor General sighs, reflecting on how they sent Alice straight into battle at a young age, robbing him of a normal general or artistic education. Looking through Alice's military file, the Governor General silently hopes that Alice will find something he genuinely wants to protect of his own free will, so he will never have to order him into battle as a commander again. Alice is sent to enroll at the prestigious Alpha Second Magic Academy. Walking through the lively campus, Alice internally complains about the weasel of a Governor General sending him here, annoyed by the idealistic students who talk about risking their lives for the country. He heads toward the research ward, wanting only to relax. A sudden gust of wind blows a hair ribbon off a nearby girl and catches Alice's attention. He catches the ribbon and returns it to a cheerful girl named Alice, who apologizes and explains she showed up early out of excitement. While Alice enthusiastically asks if he is also a new student, Alice sighs internally, already finding this encounter troublesome. Twin-tailed girl named Fia arrives to call Alice over to the entrance ceremony. Alice says goodbye to Alice, assuming she'll see him at the ceremony. Alice has zero intention of attending the ceremony. Seizing the opportunity to flee, he heads off to locate his private room in the research ward before any more trouble comes his way. Alice navigates through the quiet research ward and opens his designated room. He is pleasantly surprised by how spacious and fully equipped it is, complete with a personal library, comfortable lounge space, and top-tier research equipment. As the bells chime to mark the start of the entrance ceremony, Alice reflects on his situation. While graduating from the academy inevitably funnels students right back into military employment, he concedes that the Governor General delivered on his promise, giving him an ideal environment to study and relax. Just as Alice starts feeling satisfied, a dark, overwhelming aura seeps in through his doorway. A woman steps out of the shadows, warmly addressing him as Alus-kun. She introduces herself as Sisti Nexophia, the chairman of Alpha Second Magic Academy. Though she offers a friendly greeting, Alice immediately notes her intense, intimidating presence. Alice recognizes Sisti, noting that despite her youthful appearance, she has retired from active service, earning her the moniker Witch. Sisti leans in unusually close to test him, but unfazed by her proximity. Alice casually brings up her past background as a top-tier singles magician, specifically rank number 9. She humbly downplays her achievement, acknowledging that as a current single himself, normal tricks won't easily intimidate him. And she suddenly asked why he is not attending the ceremony, and Alice makes it clear that he only wants to focus on his magic research and has no interest in attending regular classes or making friends. Sisti drops a reality check. The Governor General specified that if Aloes neglects his schoolwork, he will be forced right back into active military service. Realizing he was outsmarted, Alice fumes inwardly at the tyrannical geezer. Sisti reassures him that he only needs to meet the bare minimum, attending essential classes and passing assignments to earn required credits. She reminds him to hide his true single status rank to prevent unnecessary chaos among the student body, a rule Alice happily agrees with to keep his life as trouble-free as possible. Encouraging him to make his school days meaningful, Sisti leaves him alone in his room. Alice sighs in defeat as he watches his peaceful free time slip right through his fingers. Around 400 new students enroll each year, taking lectures based on chosen subjects. Realizing that skipping entirely will cost him enough attendance credits to fail, Alice finally shows up to class 3 weeks after enrollment. As Alice enters the lecture hall, nearby students recognize him as the guy who hasn't attended a single class since day 1. They assume he's just some rich, unmotivated slack-off and decide to ignore him. Alice slaps his textbook down at an empty desk, perfectly content to ignore everyone right back. Alice Struck approaches his desk with a warm smile to reintroduce herself, politely assuming he must have missed class because he wasn't feeling well. Alice immediately shuts her down, bluntly telling her he was just slacking off because he didn't think there were any decent lectures to attend. He adds that he gets easily distracted and asks her to ignore him going forward. Alice is completely flustered and apologetic. Seeing Alice flustered, Tesfia Favel steps in defensively to confront Alice over his cold attitude towards her friend. Tesfia proudly introduces herself as a noble from the prestigious Favel family, expecting Alice to show proper etiquette and share his name in return. Unimpressed by her aristocracy, Alice dryly gives his name as Alice Rain and states outright that he is not interested in her or her courtesy. As the bell rings, the instructor calls the class to order and explains how magician licenses work. Magicians receive a numerical rank based on their individual strength and magical capabilities. The lower the digit count, the stronger the magician. The teacher points out that most students fall in the 5-digit or 6-digit range, highlighting Alice, rank 8,867, and Tesfia, rank 4,521, as outstanding top performers with rare 4-digit rankings. Noticeable that Alice isn't participating, the instructor asks him about his missing license. To keep his real, ultra-high status a complete secret, as instructed by the Governor General, Alice nonchalantly lies and says he lost it. Tesfia taunts him, assuming he threw it away out of embarrassment for having a weak 6-digit rank. Alice simply calls her idiotic, sparking another outburst right before the teacher settles the class. One of the arrogant male classmates smirks, plotting to use the upcoming mock battle training session to teach the stupid kid a lesson. The students head to their respective dressing rooms to change. While Tesfia reassures a nervous Alice in the women's room, Alice changes quietly in the men's dressing room, completely unbothered by the hostility brewing around him. The instructor gathers the students at the Lilu Palace training dome for mock battles. Physical damage in the dome is converted into mental fatigue. If a student cannot bear the pain, they will faint. Students are permitted to use weapons and magic arts, incorporating magic into their combat techniques. Students are introduced to a WRS, auxiliary support weapons for armed mages, used by mages to substitute their own magical constructs. Students without their own weapon must select one from the school's inventory. Tesphia proudly shows off her personal family heirloom katana. A smug classmate approaches Alus, challenging him to a duel under the guise of getting along as fellow freshmen. Wishing to finish quickly so he can return to reading, Alus accepts and holds up his textbook as his chosen weapon. The challenger laughs arrogantly, planning to make Alus a punching bag, while Alus looks on with concern. The opponent lunges with wild, aggressive sword swings, but Alice effortlessly dodges every attack without effort. Alice analyzes the opponent's poor form, noting his terrible balance and sloppy swings, realizing it will actually be difficult to convincingly fake losing to him. Frustrated by missing, the opponent casts Flame Blade, attempting to end the match with a fiery strike. Alice internally scoffs at the spell, recognizing it as merely a simplified form of higher-tier magic that looks fancy to the crowd. Deciding the match has gone on long enough, Alice holds out his textbook, channels magic into it, and coolly prepares to finish the duel. The opponent charges and swings his flaming blade, striking directly against Alice's textbook in a massive flash of magic power. Alice gasps and rushes over through the dust cloud, calling out in a panic to check if Alice is okay or unconscious. Alice casually sits upright in front of a surprised Alice, dusting himself off without a single scratch, reminding her that physical injuries don't happen on this training ground anyway. Realizing he needed to throw the match convincingly so no one would suspect his true strength, Alice conceded the duel to the opponent. The opponent celebrates his victory with his friends, completely oblivious to what actually happened. Holding his textbook, Alice internally sighs, reflecting on how difficult it's going to be to adapt to normal school life while hiding his power. Alice checks in with Alice, realizing her turn in the mock battle is coming up. Alice admits that as a first year, she lacks practical experience, so she cannot let her guard down. Alice gently tells her that he hopes she wins. Encouraged by his words, Alice tells him not to push himself too hard before heading off to her fight. As Alice walks away, Alice sits back with his book, reflecting on how tired he feels and realizing that Alice was the one most genuinely concerned for his well-being during his defeat. Observing from afar, he decides it wouldn't hurt to pay attention and watch her match for a bit. Alice steps up to battle wielding a naginata, another rather traditional, old-fashioned weapon. Her opponent attempts an aggressive push using brass knuckle-style weapons, but Alice deftly dodges and parries his attacks with her naginata. The opponent feels the mental sting of her counterattacks, experiencing the dome's safety system converting physical blows into mental strain. The opponent tries to overwhelm her from a distance using beginner-level magic, Ice Arrow. Alice calmly responds with advanced light magic. Rather than standard reflection, she uses a light attribute redirection spell to curve his ice arrows back at him, striking him down and securing a decisive victory. Alice analyzes her technique, noting that redirecting magic so effortlessly is far beyond what a typical basic student can manage, fitting for someone ranked in the 4-digit numbers. Alice reflects on how standard elemental magic, earth, water, fire, wind, ice, lightning, can be learned, whereas light and dark attributes require a rare natural-born affinity. As Alice celebrates her clean win, Tesphia watches her from the crowd, proudly thinking to herself, "That's my Alice." Tesphia tells the surrounding students to stop watching and focus on their own practice, pointing out that depleting one's mana repeatedly is the best way to expand overall capacity. As Alice prepares to head back to reading, Tesphia draws her sword, points it directly at his neck, and demands that he come with her. Alice tries to stop her, but Tesphia insists this is good medicine for him. She angrily accuses Alice of treating her and the noble Fievel family name like a joke during his earlier fake defeat. Annoyed by how casually he dismisses her anger, Tesphia slaps the textbook out of Alice's hands and demands a proper duel. Picking up his book, Alice grows serious. Irritated that she treated his reading material so rudely, he agrees to a duel after school under one strict condition: just the two of them, with no spectators. Alice makes it explicitly clear to her that this time he has no intention of playing nice or throwing the match. Alice meets with Sissy, the headmaster, who expresses alarm upon learning he plans to duel the daughter of the Fievel house, worrying about the political fallout of a potential worst-case scenario. Sissy asks him to cancel the match, but Alice flatly refuses. That's a no. He argues that mock battles are officially permitted by the school, and that her intervening would only waste more of his precious free time. Sissy reflects internally on Alice's status as a singles-rank magician, the absolute top tier of power. Even with the training hall's safety system converting physical attacks to mental fatigue, a magician of his caliber could easily leave an opponent severely traumatized or crippled if he isn't careful. Teasingly, Sissy reminds him to go easy on his opponent, to which Alice calmly replies, "I know." He then asks permission to borrow a document before taking his leave. Before heading out, a character opens a secure lockbox revealing a hidden weapon or magical relic. Alice and Tesfia politely decline a group study invitation, stating they have other plans. As they walk away, Alice hesitates and asks Tesfia if she is really going through with this duel. Tesfia acknowledges that she might be going overboard, and that the weight of the Fievel name has no effect on Alice. However, she firmly states that she cannot lightly forgive anyone who insults her efforts and her pride. Alice arrives early at the Dome Arena and notices that the chairwoman is watching the match. He senses another hidden presence in the arena, an elite 3-digit rank magician, and presumes they are observing at the chairwoman's request, making it hard for him to relax. When Tesfia and Alice arrive, Tesfia is shocked to see that Alice intends to fight using just a sheet of paper he borrowed from the chairwoman. Alice claims it will be more than sufficient against her, which Tesfia takes as a direct insult. Alice's condition: if he wins, Tesfia must stop meddling with him. He mockingly offers to tutor her in her studies as a 4-digit rank magician, which she immediately rejects. If she wins, Alice must apologize for everything he has done to her. Alice points out he thought he already apologized once, but agrees anyway. Alice activates the damage displacement system on the control interface to ensure a safe match, taking charge of giving the start signal. Alice confirms both combatants are prepared for the duel. Alice shouts, "Begin!" to officially launch the match between Alice and Tesfia. That's all for today, guys. Sorry for the cliffhanger. If you want to be notified to the upload of this manhwa, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated. Goodbye.